Right now in your kitchen cabinet, there is a small container of white powder. It costs less than $1 at the grocery store. You probably use it every single day without thinking about it. But thousands of years ago, this exact same substance was treated like pure gold. Kings fought bloody wars to control it. Empires built giant stone roads just to transport it. And if you did your job well, you were paid using its name. This item is common table salt. Today, we view salt as a simple seasoning, but in the ancient world, salt was the most powerful substance on Earth. Without it, the greatest empires in human history would never have existed, and the unfair control of it caused those same empires to burn to the ground. To understand why salt was so valuable, we have to look at life before modern technology. Imagine living in a world with no refrigerators, no freezers, and no grocery stores. If you hunted a large animal, you could not eat all the meat in one day. Within 48 hours, the meat would rot, fill with deadly bacteria, and become completely useless. This meant early humans were trapped. They could never travel far from their local water sources, and they could never survive a long, harsh winter because they could not store food. Then, humans discovered a miracle property of salt. When you cover meat or fish in heavy salt, it draws out all the moisture. Bacteria cannot live or grow without water. By removing the moisture, salt freezes the food in time. It prevents the meat from rotting for months or even years. Suddenly, everything changed for humanity. With salt, humans could pack thousands of pounds of food into wooden barrels. They could travel across dry deserts and deep oceans without starving. Armies could march for thousands of miles because they could carry their food supply safely. Salt became the fuel that allowed early humans to conquer the planet. Because salt was so essential for survival, the grandest empire of the ancient world, the Roman Empire, became completely obsessed with controlling it. The Romans built a famous, massive military highway across Italy called the Via Salaria, which translates directly to the Salt Road. This road was constructed specifically to allow Roman soldiers to guard and transport salt from the ocean directly to the city of Rome. Salt was so critical to the daily life of a soldier that the Roman government did something unique. They provided their soldiers with a specific monetary allowance every month strictly to purchase salt. In Latin, this salt money allowance was called salarium. If you look closely at that ancient Latin word, you will see something incredibly familiar. The word salarium is the exact origin of the modern English word we use today, salary. Every single time you receive a paycheck from your modern job, you are participating in a tradition started by Roman soldiers buying salt. This is also where the famous phrase, "worth your salt," comes from. If a soldier was lazy or bad at his job, the generals would say he was not worth the money given to buy his salt. While salt helped build the Roman Empire, it completely destroyed the French monarchy. In the 14th century, the kings of France realized they could make an enormous amount of money by controlling the salt trade. The government created a highly unpopular tax law called the gabelle. Under this law, the French government took a complete monopoly over all salt distribution. They raised the price of salt to extreme levels. To make matters worse, the law forced every single citizen over the age of 8 to buy a minimum amount of salt every single year, whether they needed it or not. If you were a poor farmer, you had to spend your hard-earned savings just to buy the government-mandated salt to keep your family's food from rotting. This created a massive black market. People started smuggling illegal salt across regional lines. In response, the French king created a brutal, armed police force known as the Salt Police to track down smugglers. The penalties for owning illegal salt were terrifying. If you were caught smuggling salt, you faced heavy fines or public whippings. Repeat offenders were sent to work as forced labor on military ships. Some armed black market dealers were even executed by the state. The rage over this unfair salt tax grew for generations. It became one of the primary grievances that caused the poor citizens of France to finally revolt. In 1789, the French Revolution began. The king lost his crown, and the hated salt tax was officially destroyed. Even in modern history, salt continued to topple empires. In the year 1930, the British Empire held strict colonial control over the nation of India. The British government made it completely illegal for Indian citizens to collect, harvest, or sell their own natural salt. Instead, they forced the local people to buy highly taxed salt imported by the British. A peaceful leader named Mahatma Gandhi decided to fight back using a simple strategy. He walked 240 miles to the ocean coast with thousands of followers. When he arrived at the water, he reached down, picked up a small lump of natural sea salt from the sand, and held it in the air. By making his own salt, he broke British law. This single act inspired millions of citizens to harvest their own salt, completely breaking the British monopoly and starting the movement that eventually freed the entire nation of India. The next time you sit down at a table and pick up a cheap salt shaker, take a close look at the white crystals inside. You are not just looking at a basic grocery item. You are holding the mineral that preserved human life, created your modern paycheck, and changed the map of history forever.